This video is brought to you by Nokian Tires, a leader in safety and sustainability. Maximize performance and efficiency with their made in USA all-season tires and their dedicated Hakkapeliitta EV winter line from the inventor of the winter tire. Learn more at nokiantires.com/EV.
Well, folks, this is the big one. Welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You join me at the base of the I-70 hill climb just outside of Denver with my Tesla Model S. I also have FSD Beta on my Tesla Model S, which can only mean one thing. It's time to finally run the newest version, actually our first time, I believe, running FSD Beta in the Hogback Challenge. Why is it taking us so long to run, sort of what's regarded by many as the best driver assistance system on the market in our test? Well, I wanted to wait for a very special person to join us, so he will be joining in just a moment. We flew him all the way from Michigan to join us for this, who's an expert on this system, as well as using others as well. But in this video, we're gonna see how well Tesla's driver assistance system, full self-driving beta is what they call it, handles the world's toughest driver assistance test on YouTube. It's also the only driver assistance test on YouTube that's standardized, so it's also the easiest. Let's get into the video. A huge thank you to Chesapeake Climate Action Network Action Fund for sponsoring this video. Guys, this raffle, an incredible raffle, is ending very soon and their tickets are undersold. Let me explain to you what's going on. Chesapeake Climate Action Network is giving away a Tesla Model X Plaid or a Rivian R1T or even a Lucid Air. It's your choosing if you happen to win. They have a number of tickets that they're giving away, not very many, so your chances were already incredible, but since the tickets are undersold, your chances of winning one of these vehicles is even higher. So what I need you to do is go to evraffle.org, support Chesapeake Climate Action Network Action Fund, where they are working on climate programs to make our climate safer and our planet more livable. Of course, the auction is ending very soon, so you need to get in quickly, but your chances of winning one of these incredible cars has never been higher, truly. So head to evraffle.org. A huge thanks to CCAN Action Fund for sponsoring this video, and good luck to all of you, and hopefully one of you wins one of these incredible cars. Well, you join us at the base of the I-70 hill climb for the start of the Hogback Challenge. Now, the whole idea of the Hogback Challenge, the reason we call it the Hogback Challenge is that's what this area of the mountain range is called, the Hogbacks. And we're actually starting in the Woolly Mammoth parking lot. So we got a lot of funny names going on here. But essentially, we have run a bunch of different vehicles from Mercedes, BMW, Hyundai, Kia, all of the systems in this as standardized as we can get driver assistance test. And today, we've also run regular Autopilot. We've also run Autopilot 2.5 versus 3.0. We've done some Tesla stuff, but we've never run FSD Beta. When we get in the car, I'll walk you through the software version. I'll have my friend Chris, who's Dirty Tesla on YouTube, who's joining us, walk you through all of the different iterations, what version we're on. I made sure the car was at the newest software update at the time of recording. Chris knows all of the software updates and history, and he'll share all of the details about our build and all of that stuff, because I am not an expert in that area at all, which is why he came all the way here to Colorado to help us with this video. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna jump in the Model S, we're gonna camera it up, and we're actually gonna see what happens when you don't pay attention. We always go through our testing procedures first. So Ryan, who will join us on this test as well, there's gonna be 5 of us in the car, is gonna be logging all the information, and we're gonna see how it performs from a safety standpoint, how it gets your attention, what's the driver monitoring system like. We'll talk about all of that. We'll also talk about the different versions of Autopilot. Then we're gonna jump out onto I-70 just behind me. And truly, if any driver assistance system can perform well here, one of the twistiest sections of American highway, I think we have something like 30 miles as our test. I don't even know, 5,000 feet of elevation difference. Like, it's an insanely crazy mountain pass, hill climb situation. If any driver assistance system can work here, it can work anywhere. And so that's our idea. It's the toughest driver assistance challenge we could throw at these cars. And now it's time for FSD Beta. This is what I've been waiting for. It's one you've been asking for. So let's jump in the car, run through the testing procedures, talk about the driver assistance system, and we'll do that. And just before we jump inside, I just want to walk everyone through how this car is spec'd. There are a bunch of different Autopilot versions of Tesla. Actually, early Model S didn't even have adaptive cruise control. Some of the really early nose cone cars, from 2014, 2013, and even earlier, they just had basic cruise control. Then Autopilot 1 launched in September of 2014, if I remember correctly. And that was a single camera with radar, doing lane centering as well as distance and lane changes, also used ultrasonic sensors. Autopilot 2 launched with 8 cameras and upgraded hardware and everything. Then they went to Autopilot 2.5 and then 3. This is Autopilot 3, same basic architecture, 8 cameras around, different camera quality. They now have removed the radar out of this particular car, so this is a non-radar car. And what's interesting, for example, my friend Andreas, who's holding the camera, you have 2.5 on your car, Andreas? You have Autopilot 3, but radar, right? But they don't use the radar when you're in FSD Beta. So all the systems, they basically said, let's just not use any radar with this hardware, which I find interesting. I want to get Chris's opinion on that. So we'll talk about that. There's now a new hardware 4 that's come out with, I believe, red dots inside the cameras. And my understanding with that system is FSD Beta is not yet available for hardware 4. We will be testing it as soon as it is in the Hogback Challenge and following Tesla's progression. But I wanted to get you, this is sort of the latest, greatest hardware that supports FSD Beta. It's got all the newest stuff here. So let's jump inside and run the test.
Yes.
Normally you're up front with me, but we've stuffed you in the back with Francie and Andreas.
It's all right, I fit back here.
Yep, so why don't you walk us through the point scheduling. Once you walk us through the whole document, we'll then go and try to see what happens when we don't pay attention, and we'll play that clip in the middle. And then, of course, we're going to run the Hogback. So walk us through the point schedule. How do we arrange all of this test?
Of course, as you mentioned, the first thing that we are going to be talking about were those warnings. If you misuse the system, aren't touching it, what's going to happen. And we've got a whole list of things as to what it should and should not do for that.
So maybe we should play that clip now, and then we can reverse. We'll go back and analyze what it did.
Right.
You join us now where we're going to see the driver monitoring safety takeover effect, essentially, where we're driving just normally on FSD Beta, and I'm basically going to take my hands off the wheel and see how long it takes for us to basically get into where it wants us to take over. And then once it's asking us to take over, we'll see what happens once the car locks us out. And there's some cool things that Tesla does that no one else does. We're going to go up the road a bit to find an empty area. So you'll join us when we're on the system and it starts yelling at us to take over so we can see what happens. So I'm going to be lightly covering the wheel here just in case, but we're using the system improperly on purpose. And we are under supervision by Dirty Tesla over here. So it's okay. And we're also not at home, which is also okay. So we have our first warning that says apply slight turning force to steering wheel. If you zoom in on that, Andreas, our users will be able to see it. It's now flashing pretty quickly at us. So far, no audible. First ding right there. We're still able to go. It's just flashing away. Second ding. Actually, I did a couple more dings that time. And now it says auto steer unavailable for the rest of this drive. But again, I still have not taken over. It's still lane centering, it's beeping. And we're slowly slowing down. You can see my set speed is set to 50, but it's bringing speed down. Hazards came on at 32 miles an hour. It's keeping us right in the middle of the lane. So everyone who thinks Tesla's going to pull to the shoulder when this happens does not do that. We've already known that, but some people think it will. We're coming all the way down to a stop here. 3, 2, 1. We're stopped. It applied a little bit of throttle. So it's actually inching forwards.
Yeah, that's weird.
We're going to confuse this person, but look at that. It's just holding us on throttle. It did not go to auto hold.
Yeah, I've never felt that.
I've never tried this actually. So it's just throttle and then let off. And it inches. How weird is that? So I guess it would just sit here forever, making sure no one's coming up behind. No one is. And so yeah, that's basically what happens. It doesn't even hold you on the brakes. I would imagine if it's hitting the throttle, the brake lights are not on.
Yeah, probably not. Dang, too bad we don't have a camera back there.
Too bad we don't have a camera back there. Maybe at the end of the test, we'll try again and see if the brake lights are on. So stay tuned to the end of the video because we're going to find out. That was behavior I've never experienced, actually. I've never let it go all the way to a stop. I always imagined it would have just put the parking brake on.
It might be to wake you up. It's trying to wake you up, maybe.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, dude, let's go.
Yeah, I've done it in the past, and it did stop. I mean, completely.
Right,
That was a long time
and it
ago.
put the brakes on and everything?
Yeah, it did move.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. So this was definitely like, we weren't gaining any distance,
Right.
but we were on a slight uphill and it was just applying throttle.
Right.
Weird.
I hear it yelling at you.
Well, you join me like, stuck in the middle of the road. It does seem like the brake lights are on right now.
Yeah, they're on. The Rivian's washing it out a little bit, the headlights, but they're definitely on.
And the top brake lights on?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, great. So my thinking is, what I'd really like to do right now is like, have you push the car from the front? You know what I mean? To
No.
create like some upward pressure on it. To
Push-
see if it applies a little motor torque.
Okay.
So push it as hard as you can.
I'm literally just pushing a freaking Model S.
Actually, I heard the brakes grab there.
Oh, okay. Here, let me rock it a bit.
Yeah, so I can hear the brakes like rubbing against each other.
Wow.
So it's definitely holding on brakes right now, and it shows hold on the screen.
Okay.
So that's interesting. But we definitely did not have the hold right there before.
Right.
So it's like maybe if it's on a hill, it doesn't work as well. But it's definitely held on physical brakes.
Yeah, brake lights are on, so.
Yeah, great. Well, good test. Now we know.
Cool.
We are back to where we started now, and you can see we have this message as I've just put the car into park, and it says, telemetry from your vehicle indicates improper use of FSD Beta. Keep your hands on the wheel and remain attentive at all times. FSD Beta will no longer operate if Autopilot disables 3 additional times. So that was our second strike out of the 5 allowable. Once you reach the, you blow through all 5, they lock you out for a week, is how it currently operates. And so you pay $15,000 or $200 a month, whichever you choose, and Tesla says you're not able to use their system. Now, is that a penalty that's fair? I'm not sure. You guys let me know in the comments. I think it's a little bit annoying because we've had some issues, for example, on my dad's Model S, where he had a radar detector wired up here, and the wires were blocking this interior camera, and the car wasn't telling him why he was losing FSD, why he kept getting locked out. Because if you cover this camera, which a lot of people do for certain reasons, like to reduce eye tracking, not on FSD Beta, if you cover this camera on Beta, it counts as a strike against you. And so he didn't know what was going on, so he paid for FSD Beta and wasn't able to use it, which I thought was a real shame. So, but then also, if you're just like an idiot not paying any attention, like, you probably shouldn't use the system. So, it's all a little bit of a gray area these days, but that's what happens. The cool trick to reset this, by the way, if you're driving, even on normal Autopilot, this works. The car needs a drive cycle restart, basically. And rather than getting out, shutting the door and reopening, all you need to do is open the charging port. That technically shuts off the car. So the charging port is now open. I can then hit the brake pedal. If my phone was on, because phone key sucks, it would turn the car on, and then we could go. So, that's the quick trick. If you're on the highway and for whatever reason it freaks out, pull over, park, open the charge port, back into drive, and there you go.
So what we saw is only 2 good things from that, which was the hazard lights, and we decided that it brought it to a complete stop since we thought the average speed is essentially 0.
Right, because we were inching back and coming forwards. But there's a lot of things Tesla could do, I would say, to increase the safety of this, like driver takeover situation. What were some of the other options that were available?
Right, so one of the things it could have done was seatbelt yank, so just pulling on the seatbelt to try and wake you up.
And there's cars that do that, like e-tron, like Taycan. I'm trying to think what else does that, but there's a few out there.
Correct. It could shake the seat, vibrate it. It could also use the exterior horn to make a sound, both to alert you as the driver and people around you. Additionally, it could have pulled over to the shoulder.
Right.
One thing that was good that it did not do that we sometimes see is just letting go of the automated steering. Sometimes we'll have a situation where it just will turn off the automatic steering and you'll just be sent off the road.
Yeah,
Good
Hyundai,
luck.
Kia, Genesis, literally every HDA product, they're amazing systems, but when you don't pay attention, because they separate adaptive cruise control from steering, they just shut auto steer off, and you're like on throttle off the road.
Yep.
It's
So-
really bad.
So fortunately, we did not have that problem.
And the last thing would be the brakes.
Right.
So no stabbing of the brakes.
Correct.
It'll do that when it phantom brakes, but it didn't do that for this test.
Not for safety.
Okay, so I also want to introduce everyone to Chris from Dirty Tesla.
Hello.
Thank you for flying all the way out here.
Of course.
And before we go through the rest of the testing procedures, can you walk us through what you do? You're like the FSD Beta guy,
Sure.
and want to know, like your thoughts around the software version we're on and what we're going to experience today.
Sure, yeah. So I've always just been super interested in autonomy, been testing just basic autopilot for probably close to 5 years now, and then the evolution with Navigate on autopilot, auto lane changes, and then of course FSD Beta today. So just really involved in the system, and I really enjoy it. I love the system despite its faults. It does have a lot that it needs to fix, especially these days. There's very specific things it does wrong consistently. That's very annoying. And then of course you get the random, hey, it's a self-driving car. It's trying to get A to B, but it makes mistakes randomly, things you have to deal with. So today we're on 11.4.4, and we're not doing any like right turns, left turns, roundabouts, anything too complex. We're just going down a windy road. And expectations are, number one, it's kind of interesting because base autopilot can do this as well and maybe do it okay. Number two, full self-driving beta should be able to do it too, and should actually be more capable, but because of its expanded abilities, it has the option to try different things. You may get the system trying to do things that it shouldn't be doing, but it thinks it should be doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've used FSD Beta around. We've made a few videos with it. It just seems to always choose the wrong lane at the worst time.
Yes.
And send all these wrong signals to other cars. But then sometimes you'll get a drive and you're like, whoa, it's like magic.
Seriously.
And I think what I really like about your content is you're very honest about how the system operates. There's a few obviously those Tesla people that are like, this can drive itself today, and go to sleep, and it's like, don't do that. And then there's also people on the other side that are like, FSD Beta is a scam and it will never work. And I feel like, well, I want to leave our audience up to judge what they think about the system. And we're just here to put the car into situations and show what it'll do. So the first thing we need to do is let's get the rest of the cameras on. Actually, sorry, we need to go through the rest of the tests. Sorry, Ryan.
That's right, yeah. So first thing we want to go over is some of the driver interfaces. So for this self-driving, does it have a capacitive wheel?
No capacitive steering wheel.
Does it have driver safety eye tracking?
It does when you use FSD Beta, but not when you use normal autopilot.
Correct.
Okay. And it uses this interior camera. There's also an IR light, sort of bright situation back there.
In some of the cars, some still
really?
don't have it. So older Model 3 and Model Y won't have IR.
Okay.
Yeah, all the refresh S and X have IR.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes when I record at night, I can see the red pop up here.
Yep.
Ah, interesting.
Does it have hands-free eye tracking?
So in the sense that we judge hands-free eye tracking, no, because it does require hands on the wheel at all times.
Okay. It's not limited to pre-map highways, I know this.
That's correct. It will work pretty much anywhere, which is the best part about autopilot.
And then showing other cars around in the gauge cluster,
It does that.
of course. And then finally, lane centering only on pre-mapped.
Correct. So no, it won't do that. Lane centers everywhere.
Perfect. Okay, so that gives us 7 points in that section.
Okay.
Next, we're going to move on to the automatic functions. So does it adapt to speed limits?
It will. We can even set a sort of offset to the speed limit.
Perfect. That was my next question.
Okay.
Can you adapt the system aggressiveness?
No.
Yes.
Oh,
In
yes.
beta, you can. Yes.
Okay.
Cool. So I forgot about that. You can put it to Mad Max mode, right?
Well, that's Navigate on autopilot.
Oh, okay.
For full self-driving beta, you have chill, average, and assertive, which mostly just translates to follow distance. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
That's the main thing.
Great.
Follow distance and also lane changes, how much it'll do, how often it'll do.
Forgot about that. That's why you're here. You're saving the test.
Yeah, I got you. No
Yeah,
problem.
No, good.
And that is separate from the driving mode, correct?
That is separate from, well, the car doesn't really have drive modes. I mean, it has chill, acceleration. So
Yes.
yes, I would say it's separate.
Yes.
Does it do automatic lane changes
It will.
without user input?
Correct.
And will it return to the right lane?
It should return to the right lane.
On the highway?
Yeah.
So on the highway, for now, as of right now, because it changes all the time, for beta, if there's somebody behind you, definitely will get out of the left lane. If there's no one around, it will camp the left lane. So you kind of got to decide how you...
I tell you, we give it half a point. Because you're right. If no one is behind you, it just stays camping in the
Right.
left.
And
But
if someone comes up, it'll move over.
yeah,
almost
when
right away.
Andreas comes up and he's flashing the high beams, it'll
Yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah, typical German driver right here. Great. So what else is there, Ryan?
That's it for the automatic functions, which
Okay.
brings us to a total of 16.
16 starting points. That's pretty good.
And in total, yeah, we're up to 27.
27 points.
That is with, the warnings that we've already gone through.
Okay. So as I get the other cameras booted up, can you walk us through what we're going to be deducting points for during the test? Because we always give a car a bonus at the beginning based off features, and it can only have the opportunity to lose points throughout the test now.
That's right. So we've got several different situations in which it can be points will be deducted. So the first is any time that you have to take over for safety, and that is 1 point.
And we would take over for safety when?
Anytime that there's a dangerous situation, if it's not going to avoid another vehicle, there's something on the road.
Or if we touch a line.
Yes, thank you. That as well. We will remove 2 points if it auto disengages with a warning.
Right? So if it goes for the beep, 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 I can't figure it out, take over, that's minus 2 points.
Correct. And if it disengages without a warning, that's minus 3 points.
Right. Now, Tesla, thankfully, doesn't disengage without any warnings, but that happens very often in other cars, which is just like, oh, you're off the system. no beeps or anything.
Right. Yeah.
Which is crazy. So, yeah, we should be all cameraed up, all good to go as best as we can. In terms of settings for this, Chris, can you set us up how you think the car will perform best?
Yeah, so personally, for speed limit, I would leave it because it should be at the speed limit.
Yep.
And then I've actually tested chill, average, sort of, and average seems to be the best.
Okay.
So I would leave it there as well. I really wouldn't mess with any of the settings and just kind of let it do its thing.
Okay, and what about this minimal lane changes for current drive setting?
Yeah, minimal lane changes will basically make it so the car will not pass slower moving vehicles.
Okay.
That's the main thing. And it won't then move out of the left turn lane if somebody's behind you. It will continue to change lanes if it needs to follow the route, which sometimes it thinks it needs to follow the route and it's completely wrong. So that will not always help you, but in daily driving, sometimes this makes it a little more relaxing.
Yeah.
So for the test, I would leave it off for sure.
Great. We'll leave that off. And actually, for the first time ever, we are going to engage the system here in the parking lot.
Yes.
And have it merge itself onto the highway. Now the test, we won't judge anything outside of just the highway because again, it's our highway driver assistance test.
Sure.
We were thinking about doing a Hogback Extreme, which like only this car could do, or any FSD Beta, no one else could. But when we hit the speed limit sign merging onto the highway just behind us, that's when the test starts. So the one thing we need to do is we need to put in where our exit is going to be, which is going to be in, so car on, it's in drive. Let's activate FSD Beta as soon as it lets us, and we'll have it bring us to the highway. We have it set again 15 miles to our turnaround point, and then of course 15 miles back. So it'll be a roughly, I don't know, 30 or 40 minute long test as they normally are. Looks like we have the gray steering wheel. So FSD Beta on. And everything is set to the speed limit. Now, this isn't its normal area of operation, of course, but it is kind of cool to see it navigate these unknown areas, which no other driver assistance system will attempt. I would say it's doing a very poor job initially. But it is kind of fun to watch it work. And let's see what's going to happen here. Just blew right through a stop sign and went the wrong way. So we are off to a bad start.
Well, this is what it has in the nav.
Oh, it's trying to avoid the traffic, but it just blew the freaking stop sign.
It definitely did, yes.
Okay, well, we are going to... we have to make a U-turn because we have to enter the highway for the normal testing spot.
Right, of course.
So we're going to lock it onto I-70 when we get over there. But things are going well, folks.
Great job, Beta.
And this is why I don't use Beta, because it's really freaking annoying. But do you find it does stuff like that often?
It depends on the area, but yeah, I'm not that surprised to see it. I notice a lot of times directly after a turn, like in that exact situation, it can miss a stop sign. Right?
Which, like, the stop sign's there.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it'll even show it on the display.
Just,
you're like, why are you not interacting with this?
Okay, that's wild.
Yeah.
Does it recognize bikers?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he should be on the display already.
He is on the display. Yeah. But you can see he's going to have to cut in front of us or turn. Good thing he turned.
Yeah, nice turn signal.
Would have been a bad day. Right, would have been a bad day. So now it says changing lanes to follow route. It tried to and then realized it was a white solid line. But like, why would it even put in that steering input initially? Doesn't always give you the most confidence. At least me, it doesn't.
Right.
Coming in smoothly to a stop. That's all feels okay. Nice displays now. So can you explain some of this display. I'm seeing this blue line. What are we looking at? And then what's the like filled in blue line?
Yeah, so the blue line is its intended path where it's going to go. And then as it's either accelerating or coming to a stop, it's going to make it like a filled in blue line, means it's driving through that. And as it sees an obstacle or a stoplight or maybe a stop sign, sometimes it will turn that line kind of like gray or see-through, which means it's not currently planning on actually driving that right now, but that's where it's going to go as soon as it puts, you know, input back in.
Okay,
so
it's doing this perfectly so far. Here we are coming up to a stoplight.
You should expect a complete stop.
Okay, very good.
Traffic.
And we do have some cross traffic, but they should all be turning without turn signals. There's an Ioniq coming straight through, and it just, we're in the middle of the intersection. So that was bad. Should not have gone there.
Yep.
And now we're merging up. So we're going to set the speed limit to, you know, the way it's set, 0% deviation from the speed limit. We always, you know, basically initialize the system by the time we get up to the 65 sign over here. We are in a split lane going to 1. We have no turn signal or anything yet. It's just hugging the right line. But technically it's doing it. And we're on. We're officially on the Hogback test. Now it does look like we'll have a patch of traffic up ahead, but I expect this system to do really well now that we're kind of out of the weird environment of urban and we're just locked on the highway. Interestingly though, it says the speed limit's 55.
You got it wrong?
It's wrong.
It's 65
It's
here?
65.
Yeah.
So we'll set it to 65. We don't deduct any points, but automatic lane change, it's going for it. I'm not touching anything. So it automatically decided to go for a pass on the Ioniq 5. Very nice. She's looking for an EA charger right now. So, Chris, we have some distance to cover, and we'll mention when things go wrong, of course. It's actually getting into the left lane, even though we're at our set speed, which there's almost no reason to do that for the extra couple miles an hour.
So you can see where, exactly, so that's one of the problems is it's a robot. So if they're going 64 and you're set to 65, it's like, oh, well, we need to pass them.
Oh, really? So it's like the tiniest bit of speed deviation.
Yes, and that is part of the settings with the chill, assertive, or chill, average, and assertive.
Okay.
Can kind of influence that as well. But, I mean, as of right now, it looks like a good decision.
Yeah, actually, I would agree. That was smarter than me.
Yep.
So there we go. Yep. Very good there.
Yeah, I find a lot of the times on the highway, it's very, very good at judging the speed of other cars up ahead, even when they're really far away. I've had plenty of times where I go, why are we changing? This is not a good decision. And then, you know, 10 seconds later or 30 seconds later, I'm like, okay, actually, we should be passing. So
okay, very cool. Yeah, so we're just in dense Saturday traffic here on the I-70 hill climb. We do have a 55 zone coming up here. And now I believe since I set a deviation, and the car thinks we're in a 55 zone, I'm gonna have to manually lower it back down.
you can see.
Let's see. Yep, so we'll have to go manually back down to 55, which is gonna piss everyone off. But we'll see if it moves over with the car tailgating us. It is!
Yep.
Changing out of passing lane. How about that? Very, very good.
Yep.
So now we're just gonna go nice and slow and cruise up again, a patch of traffic up here, but not unusual for the test. And then it looks like it opens up afterwards. Will it recognize this thing in the middle of the road up here?
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
This is great.
Let's see
I'm
what happens. Because it's not changing lanes. We got everyone hitting the brakes on the left.
Just wait as long as you can, because what it'll oh, now this truck's blocking us.
So, technically, that was in the middle of the road, so I don't think we deduct any points. Although, what do you think, Brian? -1 for safety?
I think so, because that's a road hazard and it should avoid it.
Okay, there you go. -1 for safety. It's not like a consistent one, though, because I think that's the first time we've ever had an obstacle in front of us.
Yeah, well, you know what? That is an ability the system has, and you'll see with that blue path, if you can look at it while you're looking at the road, it'll give you a little divot in the path to show it's going to go around that stuff.
Okay.
I think, not that it's an excuse, but I think what messed it up is that truck got in front of us and blocked it temporarily.
Yeah.
So it kind of forgets something's there.
But we had seen it for so long.
Exactly. So, but it doesn't have like a memory like you and I.
Like zero memory.
Right, like zero.
Oh, wow.
As of, again, I always say as of today, because they're always changing the system, but
sure.
Yeah.
But it shows that there's still a long way. Like, just in the initial 5 minutes of this test, it's really cool.
Yes.
But it shows how far away we are from this, like, just like going to sleep.
Yeah, oh yeah, very far from a robo-taxi. I mean, my opinion, a lot of people disagree with me, that's fine, but I think there's a lot of work to do for that.
Oh, no question.
You've shown it
how
here.
can anyone disagree with what we've just seen?
Well, I don't know. They do.
And just because I think people tend to think that the more Teslas are in an area, they'll perform better. Like every other car here is a Tesla. Everyone drives a Tesla in Denver.
I've noticed there's a lot here.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not like an unpopulated Tesla area. So yeah, we're just cruising along. Hopefully we'll be out of this here momentarily. We're good. I don't expect it to mess up in this area at all anyway. So I don't think this is going to affect the test results. So both you and Andreas actually own Teslas with FSD Beta. That's why both of you are here.
Cool.
Francie has used Autopilot before, but she's just along for the ride, having fun, sharing her input onto how it's doing.
Yes.
And Ryan owns a Tesla without FSD Beta and has experienced many systems, of course, throughout this. So yeah, so Andreas, can you tell us a little bit about how you use FSD Beta, what your impression is of the system, and overall, what would you say to someone who's either skeptical about how it works, good or bad?
Yeah, sure. So I've had FSD Beta for a year and a half almost now, and I use it a lot, to be honest. But I think the main reason I use it is because I'm a tech guy, so I like to live on the edge of technology, and it's just amazing what it can do nowadays. But I gotta agree with Chris, it's far from perfect. I take over a lot. Like I managed to drive me home once from downtown Denver to Boulder, which is like a 40-minute drive without disengagement.
So only one time.
Yes, but I'm also very picky. Like if it stops too long at a stop sign and it makes me feel awkward, I take over because I just can't stand being
Right, you're a German. You don't want to be the hazard.
Exactly. Or like just not exiting the passing lane, right? That drives me crazy inside. So yeah, but overall I love it. It's incredible to see the rate of improvement. Just a year ago, it was so much worse, and yeah, it's just amazing to be part of that transition and this technological advances. So
okay, very cool. And we can see what we just experienced while you were chatting there. Some overactive lane changes where we got in the left. We cut off that same Subaru. They're not going to be buying a Tesla anytime soon. And then we merged out of the way again. So yeah, cruising here at 65. Now we're getting to sort of the tough stuff. The corners are the really hard part. Now, typically I like to be in the right lane for here, but there is a car in our blind spot to the right, and the car is showing that here on the display. I actually wish it would give us blind spot warning to the right. Let's just lane change to the right now that we're out of his path. And this is always tough because sometimes the car thinks it might need to take an exit, but here, look at this, perfectly smooth, not even a hesitation.
Yeah, that was great.
That's rare, and that's really good.
Rare in the Tesla?
No, rare in
Okay.
against all of the cars we've run through here.
Got it.
I think even Rivian, I can't remember which one, but like literally it was taking the exit, we had to pull it back on.
Okay.
The Rivian did that when I had it on my road trip.
Yeah,
At the time.
it
I was
goes for.
almost trying to take the exit.
I don't think we've run a Volvo or Polestar in this test, Ryan, have we? But that, I have pilot assist on my Polestar, and it just wants to take every exit possible, which is not good. So, all these driver assistance systems are just not great. And of course, it asked me to put my hand on the wheel. My hand was on the wheel, but because it's not capacitive, I had to put in a little bit of torque just to tell it I was there. And what I find works pretty well with the torque is just consistent, smooth input rather than the shake situation. What works for you?
Oh, definitely. Just a little bit of torque. A lot of people, they think it's either capacitive, even if they don't
squeeze it.
Yes, even if they don't know what that means, they think they just need to kind of touch it, or they wiggle it because they don't understand. But yeah, it's looking for torque, and just a little bit is all you need.
That's right. Yeah, it's a cool system. Also, in the US spec cars, I believe, we can raise the speed up or down or touch something on the wheel, and it classifies as touching.
Correct.
Where your Canadian spec works this way or no?
sorry, what?
Like if it comes up that you want to touch the wheel and I can just go up and down on the speed.
Oh yeah, you can.
In the Canadian spec.
only in Europe, you can't. Yeah.
Right. European cars don't allow you to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very same behavior in the Canada version. Yeah.
Yeah, the European ones are real picky about what they'll do.
And I don't believe they have beta yet.
No, nowhere except Canada and the US for now.
Okay, because Andreas took a guy who has the FSD option on his Tesla. So here's one lane that went wide, and actually you can see it's not. So now we're slowing down for no reason because it thinks the speed limit went to 55.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yep, but it's still 65, and it goes to 55 up there. So
probably bad map data then would be my guess.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, there's also construction, so stuff is changing around here. Just getting on the highway today, leaving Fort Collins actually, it thought the speed limit was 15 on the highway.
Oh my gosh.
Because they moved the highway a little bit to where a side road was.
I saw that on the Rivian. The map was all messed up with the GPS.
And because they redid all of I-25. So you start driving through and then like the car's like wants to go 15. And if you're not paying attention, like I think someone conscious would know.
Right.
But if you're not conscious or if there's an emergency, like how would you know?
Right.
And boom, you're doing 15 in a 75.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
And the worst part was I would raise the speed up and then it would say, oh, now it's 25, back on the brakes.
Oh my gosh.
So not phantom braking, but braking because of this situation.
It thinks it needs to go slower, and it's wrong.
Right.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure if you've experienced phantom braking before.
Oh, of course.
Okay. What is going on?
Well, there's lots of
And maybe
different
explain
theories.
what is it. What
Sure.
it is.
So phantom braking is the car hits the brakes when it thinks it needs to, but it doesn't need to. So in the car's mind, if you think of it that way, it has a reason to brake. It thinks there's a car stopped ahead or debris or whatever it is, but there's nothing there. It's like this. We should be continuing the speed. And a lot of people, and well, I'll just say that, have blamed like radar in the past. And that was maybe part of why Tesla removed radar. I think more it had to do with cost savings, but maybe that was
So
part
they
of
were
it.
saying radar was causing the phantom brakes.
Having different sensor inputs that you have to kind of, what if the radar says something and the camera says something else? What do you do?
Right.
Right. And so maybe this sensor fusion was part of the problem and, was alluded to and hinted at. So why it happens, I mean, it's anyone's guess. So bad map data could be part of it. A lot of people talk about shadows and bridges. Personally, I gotta have over 100,000 Tesla miles at this point. I can't find consistency. I can find certain areas where it'll phantom brake there often, which have been disappearing for me. It's much more rare these days than it used to be. But I can't tell you that, oh yeah, when you come up to a bridge and there's a shadow looking like this, it's gonna phantom brake, because I personally can't find that consistency.
I would agree with that. The only time I've ever found it to actually be consistent, by the way, someone bought a Subaru Solterra. That's wild.
Oh.
But the only time I can find consistency is when I'm in the middle of the desert on I-70 going through Green River. When the car sees this mirage.
Yes.
And when there's no other cars to like give it the confidence to keep going, when I'm just the only one for miles and I have it pegged at max speed, it'll go through it. Maybe because we have upgraded brakes on this car, but ittle just go full ABS.
Geez.
It's just
Yeah, I don't have that, and in Michigan we don't really. I very rarely the mirage thing. I haven't seen those in years.
Yeah.
So I have not experienced that, but I have heard that from other people. So you're not the first one I've heard that from, the mirage situation.
Yeah, we can consistently make this car phantom brake on that stretch, no problem. It's been there maybe 4 or 5 times. Every single time I have to just hold the throttle down.
Something I noticed that I'm not sure if you guys have noticed was similar to the Mirages was crests, like slightly blind crests. At least in my car, it has problems all the time, especially in the desert.
On base. In beta, do you notice that too?
Yeah, I noticed on the way to California a couple times. Not as extreme as Colton was.
It says changing lanes to stay out of the rightmost lane.
Right.
But why wouldn't we just stay in the rightmost lane?
Yeah, that's a question.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, Andre.
No, so this is probably you mentioned earlier, right? If you have the minimum lane change turned on, it won't do that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but still not sure why it doesn't stay in the rightmost lane. Maybe to avoid, merging traffic. I don't know.
But it was just there the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's going into the faster lane.
Yeah.
So, close, merge. That was full New York mode. But that's kind of how I drive. I do these really slow lane changes, just maximize every inch of everything. Okay, so there's just a little bit of traffic, but it's not the end of the world. The real tough portion of the test is over this crest.
Oh, okay.
So basically, as we get closer to our turnaround point, it gets twistier and twistier.
Okay.
And then we turn around and come back.
Yeah, so for highway twisting, I wouldn't expect it to have much of a problem.
No, it seems to be doing great.
Yeah.
It's more or less just this lane change and interaction around other vehicles where it really sucks. And maybe not really sucks isn't the right term, but is maybe slightly annoying. But that's where I find that I just use base autopilot for what I'm trying to get out of the car personally, and it just stays in the lane that I want it to, and then I can tell it what lane change to go because I still have the enhanced autopilot, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and this is something we talked about where the system has all these extra abilities, which is kind of cool, but then with that comes the quirks of those extra abilities. So you go back to more of the basic thing and it works better for you. It's not as capable, but for what you want at that time, it's actually better.
Yeah.
But when you factor in, look at the road lines right now where we have these slightly covered up ones and these, they were just offset back there. The car is not guessing at all. It knows exactly where we're going. And that's the most impressive part to me about autopilot is You can get into a really complex road situation or really crazy weather, honestly, and it can see better than I can in certain areas about like where to go on the road.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I always tend to overuse the system and let it do kind of what it wants to do as a test.
For sure.
Because I find it really interesting to watch the car work. And over the years, there's no question that, you know, I've probably done 200,000 Autopilot miles, something like that. Not all FSD Beta, very few FSD Beta. But I wouldn't be able to do the drives that I do without it because it's just reliable, consistent. I can get a sense of when the car's going to phantom brake or going to freak out with something. And like you start to feel it's like hiccups here and there. And yeah, you kind of work with the system, but it is not the least annoying out there.
Okay.
Yeah, like Mercedes and BMW, like the Germans, they just kind of stay in the middle of their lane, never have an issue, never phantom brake, and do lane changes great. And Super Cruise is the same way, but that's only on pre-mapped highways, which for me is a no-go. Rivian's that way as well. So how do you use FSD Beta? Tell us a little bit about what you've tested and sort of the iterations since day one, because you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. So I use it, I mean, in my like daily life, I use it for 99% of my driving. I mean, I always have it on.
Amazing.
Because I enjoy it, but also because I want to catch all the weird stuff so I can kind of be very knowledgeable about it and kind of share the things I'm finding. But I use it a lot of my commute to work is some back roads. I live rural, and then I take the highway, and then I'm in downtown. So that drive I do daily, and I have all those experiences, and it does make my driving a lot better, except for the quirks. And then for testing and things, I try to take it into like busy downtown environments. Now, Michigan in general isn't the most populated state, so I get a lot of like, there's nobody in this downtown. And I'm like, well, it's busy for me.
Right, sure.
You know, they're like,
it's not like New York City.
Exactly. Or in a lot of people are like, if you took this to India, I'm like, well, I don't live there, so I can't do that. I'm sorry. I see that comment so often.
It is funny what people will comment.
If I had the money to fly my car to India and, you know, use beta there, I would definitely do it.
Do you think it would let you use it there?
You know, let's fly it over there and try. If you want to do that, I'm all for it. I do believe the system would turn on. Because my car is, like, in the US, it has beta enabled.
Yeah.
Beta does, it's not, like you said, it's not pre-mapped.
Right.
So
it just looks at whatever's coming at it.
Exactly. It just turns on. So I believe if I was to take it to Mexico or Europe or something, I think it would turn on.
But have you noticed improvements since day one?
Yes, so big time. So the first time I took it out ever, it went to go for a roundabout and it was going to drive right through the middle of it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I took over, of course, and was like, wow, that's terrible. And then, you know, these days, roundabouts are still like, I would say maybe 50-50. But the 50-50 is half the time they are perfect. And it enters perfectly or stops, whatever it needs to do, and it's amazing. And then the other half is just kind of janky, where maybe it tries to slow down or stop in the roundabout. It doesn't try to drive through them anymore. So that's one of the like most glaring examples. But overall, I will these days have every once in a while a zero disengagement drive. They're not that common. Whereas in the past, it was impossible. I mean, you couldn't have a zero disengagement drive.
So a lot of FSD beta users that I see on Twitter and other places will say zero disengagement drive.
Yeah.
Now, I can let the car do way worse things than I would ever do and still consider that a zero disengagement drive.
Sure.
It seems to me like the basis of understanding, like, was it a successful drive or not, to a lot of I'm not saying this to you, but to a lot of FSD drivers is, did the airbags pop? Right? Like, if it didn't crash into anything really hard, it's great. I didn't crash. I made it. But, like, how many people did you piss off on your way to where you were going?
Yeah, I agree with you.
So, to me, maybe I have, like, a little higher internal standard. I know Andreas does as well, which is, like, I want the car to blend really nicely with all these cars. Now, I'm going to merge into the right lane here, even though the car isn't asking for it. Really smooth, great lane change, only because this corner trips up a lot of cars. Because there's huge potholes, and it's like a weird thing. You can see even a human driver is like struggling to get through it up here. So it's just one of those things that if you come through, for whatever reason, this warps out cameras. But this is doing it 100% perfectly smooth. No issue at all. I mean, like you were saying, the corners on the highway, no one has Autopilot beat. I mean, this is just so smooth.
It's very good.
I was not expecting it to mess up on any of those. And just because we have a lot of user experience, but it is something I want to show our audience.
For sure.
What we have seen a number of times, though, is completely different behavior on the return than the out. And not just with Tesla, but with all of the cars we've tested. And so it's one of these, you know, it's a real world test. We have to deal with real cars. It's not the most repeatable or whatever, but it is a great way to talk about these systems as a whole. So Francie, you've driven a Tesla before.
Yes.
used Autopilot many times.
Yes.
And you've also used Driver Plus in the Rivian.
Yes.
But do you use your Subaru's system?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay, so what's your impression of Autopilot? And just before you answer, I just want to let our audience know we're going to be getting off the highway up here. I assume the car will take the exit automatically and we'll come back around. So tell us about your driver assistance
My
experience.
Subaru?
No, just in general, and then how Autopilot stacks up for you.
Well,
Okay, I have to take over. It's in the shoulder.
okay.
It just, I'm sorry. I didn't take over the wheel, but that's a -1, Ryan. It just like said, let's go in the shoulder. I apologize. Go ahead, Francie.
No, that's good. Well, I mean, my experience is similar. I mean, I don't have an EV, so.
But you've driven Rivian and Tesla.
Yeah, so I thought the Rivian was pretty good. I mean, it was a year ago when I did it, but I do remember that it would turn off sometimes, and I wouldn't know why. So it wouldn't give me that recognition or the reasoning. And then I think you told me maybe it was you had a hunch maybe it was watching my eyes.
Back then was the idea, but I don't think it actually was.
Yeah.
So now it says navigate on Autopilot is complete. So I'm just going to take over, merge us back onto the highway. All is good. So we'll do the plaid thing because that's always fun.
Dear God.
And we have to brake and slow down to get back to the speed limit. Nice Model Y performance right there. So let's lock it back in at 55. There we are on Autopilot back there. So your Autopilot experience, Francie,
Yeah.
would you say it's, actually we are getting phantom braking there. Slight hesitation. Sorry, go ahead.
You're good. Were you gonna
That's a
ask me
-1,
question?
Ryan. Yeah, my question for you is how does Autopilot that you're experiencing now
Yes.
stack up to your other driver assistance experience?
I mean, this is really impressive. I mean, usually what I've had is that it'll typically shut off. Like it won't know what to do, and it'll force me to take over, which I don't know can make me feel more comfortable, but also just it's not as smart as this. I think this is the smartest experience I've had. I don't think I'd trust another car that I've driven to do this road, because this road is like, I mean, it's a very dangerous road, historically. So I'm pretty impressed by this one, even with the shoulder and everything.
Now, it's not going to get in the right lane, but we typically take these turns in the right lane. So it's automatic lane changing over. Sometimes cars just go straight here.
Wow.
There used to be, the line was repainted recently, but it was like slightly less visible, and you would just have cars go.
Oh my gosh.
So no issues here in Tesla, of course.
I would expect that.
It's going to get out of this rightmost lane. It doesn't say to pass a vehicle, it just says to stay out of the rightmost lane, which is fine because there's trucks going slow. And yeah, so far, I mean, my impression of the system up to this point is everything I need the system to do for my use case, which is long highway drive. So just stay in the middle of the lane and keep a distance to the car in front of you. This does near perfectly. I mean, couple little niggles here and there, but I've noticed it actually has started scooching for trucks now in FSD Beta. It's not doing it for this truck right here, which is
strange.
weird. But I have noticed it doing scooching, which is a great function. And maybe just because the lanes are pretty narrow here. No, it scooched there. That was great. So it does some in-lane repositioning with large vehicles, at either side, which I love. But anytime it has to do something beyond the simple task of just staying in the middle of the lines, it just pisses me off.
Yeah.
And Andreas, what do you think about that? Do you disagree with me? I hope you do, because I want our audience to find a fair assessment.
No, I agree with you. Actually,
Damn.
I was just about to mention the scooching, right? Perfect example about how the system improves with the previous version or a couple of versions back. The scooching was much more extreme. It would just hug the left line uncomfortably close to the cars next to you. So I reported this a couple times, and they actually improved it. I'm not saying because of me.
It is definitely because of you.
Yeah, of course.
Can you explain that reporting process, Chris? When I disengage the system, it will come up with a thing that says hit the microphone, and it goes into the void whenever I tell it.
Yeah.
Does anyone listen to that?
So there's a lot of mystery in Tesla in general. They don't talk a lot, right? But the idea is that you hit that, you give a voice note, you kind of describe why you took over, and then that data, your voice, along with maybe the camera feed or some of them,
Okay.
is sent back to Tesla, and then they can use that to improve the system.
And the user says, access to data is all good. You have to select all of that when you sign up.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and it's anonymous. They say it's not linked to you or your vehicle.
Yeah, but if they see you, they know you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I even have said like, hey, here's my phone number if you want to text me. I rattle that off before I get the message out. But the idea is that they can use that to improve the system. In the past, it used to be just a little camera you would click.
Okay.
You could give no context, and people think that it's kind of a rumor, but they weren't getting enough data after beta got to a certain point, so they needed more information, and that's why they added the voice note.
I would also say overactive lane change -1 there, Ryan.
Can't do that.
Thank you. Sorry. So that makes sense. And I've always my response to them is, that was absolute crap. I don't really give much more beyond, this is stupid.
I try to describe it, and if it's something really important to me, I'll be like, we almost crashed, because maybe that brings up a flag, even if we didn't.
Yeah.
I'm like, good, they'll look at this issue sooner.
Now we're just hogging the left lane.
Right, so because nobody's behind you.
Because they're moving into the right lane to pass us.
That will happen, yes.
This is how you should be driving.
Right, this is
Great
Tesla's impression of the lane you should be in. Sorry.
That's on the right.
I mean, I'm just letting it do what it's doing, so we'll just be those idiots. I really should take the license plate off for this drive so no one knows it's us. So now it's saying changing lanes out of passing lanes. So maybe it saw the cars coming by us.
Well, there is someone coming up. That's
yeah, right, the Jeep back there. But that's a pretty far distance behind.
It can see very far back. Yeah.
That's cool, yeah, because this is the camera it's looking at.
Yeah.
This is kind of a neat display, actually. We'll keep this up so our audience can see what's going around. Yeah, well, for me, basic autopilot, it's all I need. I don't really need any of the other stuff, but it is really fun to, once a month, kick on the system if I have time to get somewhere, because it's slower to get places with FSD Beta.
You got to test that. Oh, I did see how you drive. You're right there.
we're just we got to get places. It makes full stops. And
So I actually tested that one time.
Yeah.
And I drove manual human.
Yeah.
And of course I roll stop signs. I speed a little bit, but I just fit in with the flow of traffic like most people do. And then I did beta on the exact same route, and the difference was, it wasn't a long route to be fair, but the difference was 1 minute.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it because I was not making complete stops. I was rolling through stuff.
Yeah.
And I could not believe how similar the time was.
All right, we should do a race.
Yeah.
We could have I don't know, we'll have Francie drive, a normal driver, and then we'll have Andreas on FSD Beta, and then I'll just go where I'm trying to get somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We'll all roll in. Yeah, but it's got to be a meaningful distance. We got to do something 25 minutes away.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be a fun video. So coming soon. Driver assistance versus normal driver.
That's good.
But this is just amazing. You just sit back, full confidence that the car is doing exactly what it wants to do. I've been so impressed with, I'm more impressed with regular autopilot than I am with beta personally.
Yeah.
What's your dream, Kyle, that you're going to be able to take a quick snooze?
Well, I think that's everyone's dream, is I'm big pro human driver. I love driving. It's my favorite. It's the reason I do YouTube, is so I can drive stuff. I really enjoy driving. But there's so many times where I'm just in traffic or on a road like this, where I just want the car to do it. Or if you go out drinking for a night and not have to call an Uber.
See if it sees that.
So 65 digital sign. There it goes.
It did.
Yes.
It's going up.
Nice.
Very good.
And now we're just staying right in the Subaru's blind spot.
Yeah, it does that.
Nice to do that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's annoying because I just wanted to inch up. One thing Super Cruise does actually is if it's trying to get into the right lane, Tesla won't go any higher than the set speed, but Super Cruise will go 1 or 2 miles an hour more.
Love it.
Just to make some room.
Yeah, it really needs that.
Is she just straight texting on her phone?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, we're just right next to her, which is really, I hate that feeling.
It's very awkward, yeah.
But we're doing a test, so it is what it is. My dream, Francie, is just want to have cars that we can reliably get people from A to B who don't care about driving, and that can actually reduce the number of cars that we need on the road, so that can open up the fun roads for us.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, I'm not against robot driving, all this stuff. It's all great if it works and it's safe, but I think at least where people, and I've done FSD Beta in LA, in San Francisco, I've taken this car to other cities. I'm just not convinced that where it is today, and I know you feel the same way, is ready for prime time.
No, I mean, I think it's at a point where if people want to use it, they should be able to.
Certainly.
But it's not at a point where, you got Elon Musk saying, yeah, by the end of the year, We have robotaxis. It's,
Right.
I don't understand. And you know, he's been saying it for years.
Yeah, it's just not
like,
even a thing.
You know, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but why are you saying that? Just stop saying that.
Right,
Like,
sure.
don't say it anymore
Right.
until it's done. You know,
Right.
I don't know why you keep saying the same thing.
Yep.
But you know, you were talking earlier about people talking about zero disengagement drives.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty interesting conversation, because I totally agree with you, where I don't want to be an annoyance. I don't want to be a burden to the people around me. And I've been honked at. So, of course, if I do a video, I let the car do its thing, just like you.
Yep.
But if I'm driving myself, I will hit the accelerator all the time so we go a bit faster or get through stuff. While doing a test, the car makes, again, complete stops at stop signs.
Right.
I was honked at for making a
for
complete
following
stop.
the law.
Yes, exactly.
But that's Michigan for you.
Exactly.
Everyone's just got to get places.
Yeah, people don't expect that. And then the other day, this is actually just a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I made a complete stop at a stop sign. People were walking in front of me, pedestrians were in downtown, and I get honked at for not going. What do you want? You know, the car is very cautious around cyclists, pedestrians, things like that. I mean, overly cautious, which is, in my opinion, a good thing.
Yeah.
But people want you to push your way through.
Well, I've noticed, like, in four-way stop situations, it like will wait too long where it thinks the other person starts to go at the exact same time this does.
And then you get the...
So they either need to program a longer delay, wait for the other car to move,
Right.
or just like go instantly.
Yeah. It's tough for like a robot. You know, it's trying to do everything perfectly, and that's just not how people are.
No, we drive very imperfectly,
Right.
and somehow it works though.
Well, to fit the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I've just been, again, blown away with the progress. I've tried FSD Beta for years now. There is something in the road here, but on that lane, we won't be avoiding it. Now, typically, we do like to be in the right lane, especially when like exits diverge. So I'm going to go over to the right lane. We are braking down to 55, but I don't think we passed a 55 sign. So we'll raise it back up to 65. Sorry to the Subaru.
Yeah.
Again, she's been like making crazy moves, but like won't go more than the speed limit. Maybe she's like on a race to Vegas, because that's how we drive when we do those runs with the speed limit cap.
Yep.
But like doesn't take exit lanes, which was the thing Autopilot used to do. It used to, like, when one lane went wide, it would like freak out.
Yep, that's improved a lot.
That's improved dramatically. Not in base Autopilot, but in beta.
Yeah.
Which is great. Now it's slowing down. It thinks it's 45 miles an hour here.
Oh.
Did we pass a 45 sign? I don't think so.
No, I think it's getting some data from over there. That's my guess.
Yeah, so now we're back up. So here's the first 55 sign.
Is that for us? Why is it so far away?
It's on the on-ramp. Maybe it is a 55. No, because there's our sign, 55 there. So now we'll go back there. It is sometimes hard to do. And so here's a 45, which it says over 26,000 pounds,
Yeah.
which we're not. But it read it.
Interesting.
And we are 5 people, so
Yeah, I mean, maybe, you know, Texas Roadhouse, couple more nights, we might, you
no
know,
offensive.
right. We might start cresting that. But I also just have to point out the rattles.
That's an interesting point, though. Like, it needs to be able to read those signs, right? Okay, does this 45 apply to me?
Right.
I think the first feature got is the no.
It also
right
says
turn on
do
red
not
light.
pass. I don't know if you saw that,
Yep.
but we're about to pass these people. Or are we not? It's slowing down way slow.
Yeah, what is going on here?
What is going on? It definitely didn't read the do not pass sign.
No.
And here we go. So it just like went to 45 miles an hour for no reason.
Wouldn't it at least read the solid lines?
Yeah, it knows the solid lines, and it thinks it opens up to dotted lines, but it doesn't.
Yeah, as it gets off in the distance, it's like kind of guesstimating. Wow,
Okay.
it's still showing.
But it doesn't take that, you know, like covered up line. And then here we are back up, and let's see if it reads the 65 or 45. I bet it'll read the 65.
Yeah, it's really
Interesting. Yeah, we have dual signs in Michigan of trucks are 65, cars are 70.
Yep. So it read it, but it didn't raise the speed.
Yeah, probably, honestly, it's because
We adjusted
messing with it.
Yeah.
It's hard because sometimes even if you adjust it, it will then adjust it.
Right.
Other times it won't. So
Yeah. Well, we won't deduct any points for that.
I'm not defending it.
I kind of want you to, because I want to love the system, but
Sure.
it's never given me the opportunity to like feel like this is good.
Okay, well, if you're the negative, I can be the positive.
Yeah, I just think naturally, I like internally, I want this to rock, and
Yeah.
it just lets me down
Sure.
so many times. Like if it messed up once during this drive, we're like, oh, it did a weird lane change, but like it blew through a stop sign.
Yeah, exactly.
It like does all these stupid things. It does these jerky movements when it doesn't know what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just not great.
And then I don't know if you want to put our destination in,
Yes,
because it's going to just
Woolly
stay
Stem
here
and
forever.
Park and Ride. There we go. Good call.
Yeah, so see how far back it's doing that.
This is so smooth, but it has really slow lane changes, which is cool with me, and it gets it done in time. But I wonder what would happen if he had like slammed on the brakes when we're mid lane change. If it would merge faster or brake.
Probably brake.
That would be my impression.
Yeah.
And I'm going to force it back to the right as we always do. Nice R1S coming up here. Looks good. Launch green on 22s. They got it lowered down. So now we're cooking into these corners.
Nice X7 too.
Yeah, that is a good X7.
Yeah, this is a good speed.
Yep, this feels normal.
And the lane keeping is good.
Yeah, put the certain signal on and then shut it off. That's a -1. I'm sorry.
Oh,
That's
yeah?
annoying.
Wow.
It's just in that sense, like, why would we tell everyone we're about to change lanes?
Sure. I get it.
And it's not like I'm not counting it just for that one, but it's for all the other times
get
it's
you.
done that.
Yeah.
That's just like a daily annoying Kyle. Actually, we'll put it as editor's influence is how we have it.
Oh,
That's
I agree.
-1 overactive turn signals.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything wrong, technically, for the test.
Well, no, but it matters for the people around you.
Totally.
Yeah.
It sends the wrong signals.
Literally.
Yeah, that's right. So it read 45 there, even though it's still 65.
Buddy.
And now it wants to get in the left lane, but we have to exit right here. And there's no reason to lane change.
Yeah. To stay on a rightmost lane within 0.8 miles of your move.
Pushing us back over
Oh,
to the
no.
right.
Oh, you should have let it figure it out.
Oh, you want us to? I can move us back. We can just keep doing
Yeah, people are really going to be confused.
Yeah. Yeah, what happens if it can't get over for an exit?
It'll just keep going.
It'll go straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's safer.
Yep.
Than it like braking and.
No, it'll get a little more aggressive as you approach the exit, but it's, I mean, at least in my experience, it's never been overly. It'll just miss it and reroute.
I see.
Yeah.
So we're just about to come to the end of the test here. There's not much time left for it to mess up, and truly it's been amazing at staying in its lane. So for the purpose of the Hogback test, which is a highway driver assistance test, this is amazing. So, okay, we're over here. It's in.
It had a, I don't know if you saw it, did it have a left turn signal on there, or was it right?
Oh, I
didn't
think
see
I
it.
noticed anything weird there.
Okay.
It's getting into the correct lane. So the test is done, but we're going to let it bring us back to the Woolly Mammoth lot. So Ryan, can you tally up what happened for us throughout the drive as it drives us back?
Of course. So we had 1 second. I'm getting some errors on this.
Uh-oh, no errors.
All good. So on the drive, we had 4 different instances of you taking over.
Okay.
So that's -4.
And me taking over for what exactly?
When you hit some lanes or some like the shoulder.
Yeah. But I think we let it self-correct, but I didn't take over.
You said to take point off for it.
Point off, yes,
Correct.
but I don't think I actually took over the system.
Okay. So, should we put that in the?
That's the -1 category. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the driver takeover for safety.
Right. So if it hits a line, we always do a -1.
Okay.
Exactly.
We should just change the text on that, I guess.
I can do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Other than that, we didn't have any unexpected disengagements.
That was a perfect left turn, by the way.
We got -1 for camping in the left lane, and then another -1 for overactive turn signals.
And I'm going to do another -1 for just choosing the wrong lane at like, I know camping in the left lane's one, but it like sometimes just makes lane changes unnecessarily. We have one camera overheated, but it's okay. We can cancel it.
In that case, that would bring us to a total of 20 points.
So how does that stack up against, oh, actually, let's let everyone else say if there's anything they want to take off for the test.
Did we take off points for all those wrong speed limit changes?
Yeah, that was my
Oh, that's a good one. So Andreas,
1 in total, maybe.
yeah, 1 for all the minus speed
Because
limit.
it is annoying.
Yeah.
And Robotaxi.
Yeah, yeah, Robotaxi, 15 down the highway, no disengagements. It just buzzed the steering wheel, I don't know why.
Oh, it does it when it's about to change lanes?
Look, it's just sitting here.
Oh, I don't know why.
That's a setting.
Do you think my car is worse on beta than yours?
No.
Okay. So at least I'm not like have a weird example.
To be honest, we don't have a whole lot of beta here because it's mostly highway.
Yeah,
I mean, it's beta technically, but
yeah, it's beta in the highway test.
Yeah.
Anything you want to take over? Or
It was just the speed limit changes. Yeah. Other than that, I think you covered everything that I was thinking of.
And Francie, you didn't fear for your life?
No.
Good. There is a dog walking here, and we do have to get in the left lane.
That's gonna be interesting, actually.
So what's it going to do here?
Oh,
'Cause this guy is...
That's a human error.
Yes. But now, so we're sitting here.
Nice. Well,
Okay, that was good.
Yeah. See,
I feel
you're
like
impressed.
such an idiot.
You're impressed.
Because I
by
would
this
have just
robot.
like... And now it's going left here, which is okay. This is back the way in.
Those are the things that make me really love it. Like you said, that perfect left turn.
Yeah.
Okay, not this.
Yeah, we just slammed on the brakes for nothing.
Yep.
Turn. Great.
Wants to go.
And this is why having a round steering wheel is nice, because I can keep my hands in the same place. I know you're a yoke liker.
Yeah.
I'm not
yeah.
against the yoke, but I just
am.
think this is nicer for this type of stuff.
You know, I couldn't believe it. We got the new Y
Yeah.
from the X, and
Yeah.
my wife is thinking about an aftermarket yoke. She misses it so
I won't
much.
be able to talk to her anymore.
I was shocked. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe she said it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, Ryan, how's it stack up?
That's minus, we're at 20 points, which brings it into second place behind the Mercedes-AMG EQS.
So it outperformed the other systems then,
That's great.
the other Autopilot systems.
By quite a good margin.
Yeah, I'm
We're
not
at
surprised.
7 points in the previous.
And so how much of a difference is it from the Mercedes?
2 points off.
It's not hitting a bunch of children. 2 points off, so very close to first place.
That's correct, yes.
Where did the Mercedes do better?
It did a little bit better in the preliminary. And then we had a lot of, the biggest thing was all of those editors' inputs with just the lane changes and speed.
Okay, so like the little stuff, but the actual operation of lane centering and all that stuff. So how many points did we deduct in the Mercedes?
There were 6 during driving.
And how many did we deduct on this during driving?
It was 4 during driving and then 4 extra from the...
Okay, so technically the driving portion, this is number 1. But as the overall package, the Mercedes is better.
Because of it like nagging you when it can
Yep.
take over. Okay, that makes sense.
And also I think, just if we look at the driving operation, it seems like the Mercedes, based off that, would have hit the line a little bit more or did some weird stuff, where this was locked in. So there's the Model S and the Hogback Challenge. It's a real close battle for first place, but EQS still holds the top spot. This is a very close second. Again, it's just for a highway driver assistance portion. We always say if it can work on the Hogback, it can work at any highway, because this is one of the twistiest sections of American, full speed highway. And there you go. Pretty great performance from the Tesla. My impression is it does everything great when you're in lane, but anything outside of the, I have to make turns or you have to do anything lane change wise, not so great. What's your impression?
Highway is awesome. The beta improvements to Highway were great. I do think it's much better. I'm not surprised it beat your old Autopilot tests, but picking speed is tough. And I mean, it is the Tesla's fault, but at the same time, I don't really blame it when this says 45, this says 65, it's changing all over the place. So it's something they have to fix. I don't know how they do that though.
I think they just got to read the signs and rely not on map data for speed.
Right, but
read
it
the
was
signs
reading
correctly.
like 45 for this weight.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that ability right now.
Right now.
So maybe they'll add it.
Andreas, your impressions?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Kyle and Chris. You said everything basically. Robotaxi at the end of the year for sure. No, so especially the speed limit changes. Even on my drive out to California 2 weeks ago, that's the most annoying part. Yeah, that needs to be fixed and would be even more comfortable on long road trips. But yeah, still ways to go. But at the same time, amazing technology. It's it's amazing with Tesla. Lets you use their beta software. It's just amazing that anyone could just buy a Tesla, subscribe or buy the software
And have access to this.
have access. Yeah,
It's amazing, but also people need to stop misusing it.
Yeah.
Francie, your impressions?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. Better experience than I've had in any other kind of Autopilot. Again, the straightaway thing is, you're pretty confident there, but everything else did make me, a little worried at times, and I'd rather, not have to intervene and not feel worried about what the car's going to do. But it is a cool technology. I'm not expecting perfect.
Okay, very cool. And Ryan?
I've got a little bit of a different take. I think this performed very well, and of course second place is great. However, there were a lot of small things that just doesn't give me a ton of confidence. For example, like the phantom braking, going over onto the shoulder.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, so that stuff just makes me a little bit uneasy and just less likely to trust the system, whereas some other systems might not be quite as advanced or sophisticated, but they give me more confidence when I'm using them.
because you know when they're going to mess up and how they're going to mess up.
Exactly.
I totally agree. Like when I'm on, a Mercedes driver assistance system as an example, like, yeah, it certainly can't do lane changes or take exits like this can or anything like that. But like if the corner's too sharp, I know I need to apply a little bit of steering. This is like, I don't know how it's going to mess up at a particular time.
Sure.
So pretty wild. But yeah, great performance here from the Model S. Thank you all for watching another long Hogback Challenge video. We've finally got an FSD Beta car out there. There was one more that we wanted to test, which is OpenAI. So if anyone has one of those in the Colorado area, let us know so we can try OpenPilot. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Never had a chance with that. Cameras are dying. We're leaving. See you in another one soon. Bye-bye.
That was perfect timing.